the story or not?
Okay, go ahead. Tell us. Sorry. Do you still got quite a bit more?
Not quite a bit, but
yeah.
Okay, so the Post-Crescent kind of comes out against this guy. The Appleton police chief publicly opposed the granting of a license to Maniaci. Maniaci, in turn, said, hey, I know you think I'm like this terrible like Milwaukee guy, but I've got Appleton roots. He goes, my mother was actually born in Appleton on Thanksgiving Day. She was baptized at St. Joseph's Church in Appleton, which is true.
Okay.
Which is true. His mother was born in Appleton. Maniaci pointed out that he had no criminal record at this point and had held a Milwaukee bartender's license for 25 years. He's clean, he's experienced. He specifically said that Gentili would have no interest, financial or otherwise, in the restaurant, and pleaded that he had already invested thousands of dollars into remodeling the building. I'm clearly on Maniaci's side here. Like, I know now that he's a shady guy, but there's nothing at this time to indicate that. There's nothing that me, as somebody who could approve a license, would point at and say, we can't have this guy.
Right.
I don't know that I should be saying something. I try to avoid current things, but I'm going to just do this. So there's certain places in Appleton, and I don't want to name names, but Jack's Apple Pub that somehow maintained the license for quite a while, despite some shady stuff going on there and some multiple shootings. So go ahead and come at me, Jack's Apple Pub, because I think that one's pretty well known.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, these activities are happening at the place, and they're still keeping their license, where they're trying to block somebody just simply, not even for him, but somebody he's associated with, more or less, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not, and technically he's part owner, I guess, but not really, because it's not on any paperwork.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So
the Appleton Welfare and Ordinance Committee, who apparently are the people who oversee this, decided to delay the decision on granting him a license. Police Chief Earl Wolf attended that meeting and presented his written opposition to it. At the meeting, Maniaci was represented by two attorneys. His Milwaukee attorney who had come there was Max Goldsmith. It's fine. His Appleton attorney was Mark Catlin, which I love that Mark Catlin is like a theme. I never intended Mark Catlin to be a theme, but Mark Catlin, for those who haven't listened, or this is a long time ago now, he's the guy who got caught up under some very questionable circumstances taking money from people to get their loved ones paroled from prison, which was a big no-no. Like, you're not supposed to do that. So he was basically taking money to do something you're not supposed to do because it's implied that he's friends with the governor and getting favors. So Mark Catlin already has kind of a tarnished reputation. Somehow still an attorney at this point, but either way. So his attorneys, they said, why is Maniaci being denied just because of guilt by association? As you said, Eric. Mm-hmm. They had heard that 13 aldermen had signed a resolution to oppose the license and demanded to know why. Alderman Glenn Thompson made a motion to hold the license in abeyance until the remodeling and inspections were done. He was seconded by Alderman Richard Heisman. I don't know what's up with that. Like, the holding the license in abeyance thing, like, fine. Okay, we'll hold off on this for now, fine. But that he specifically says until the remodeling is done.
like they're trying to, let's get him to remodel the whole building, and then we'll deny his license so we have this nice new building. Yeah,
like, that's just rude. Like, what the heck? Ultimately, January 18th, 1966, Vincent Maniaci withdrew his license request. He was refunded his $275 license deposit. In my opinion, I think it's fair to say that the Appleton Post-Crescent was the number one possibly only reason that the license had any controversy and was ultimately not granted. So I guess depending on how you feel about that, yay post-Crescent or boo post-Crescent.
Well, I mean, I'm going to have to, I would argue with that because don't you think, because more than likely it's going to have come from the city of Appleton that got the Post-Crescent on writing these articles, right?
Yes.
So the city of Appleton was going to do whatever they could do to block this for what, from the get-go, you know?
Yes. But I think, you know, and I hear what you're saying, and you're right. If the city internally is like, we're not going to do this, I mean, they're in charge. They can do that.
Yeah, they have a lot of pull to, even if the community doesn't per se, you know,
but yeah,
say no to it.
I think it definitely helps when you can get articles and point to them and say, this is why we don't want to do it. Because then you get, I mean, otherwise the people in town aren't going to know. But once the people in town know, they're going to be like, maybe we don't want this guy.
Yeah, and it gave them a great way to have community support that the community said, we don't want this restaurant here either. So
yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole story. Like I said, nothing actually happens because the license gets denied. But it's kind of interesting in that nothing happens. Mm-hmm. Because, like, what is going on here? Like, this is so weird. And I get why it happened. I feel like, now he didn't do anything. Like, he just withdrew his license and he went back to Milwaukee and he was like, okay, fine. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, maybe not at this time, but today, you could totally sue the city for this.
Really?
I feel like you could, because they're
really
not
no
giving him any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, well, the reason they probably give is just completely ridiculous because you know somebody we don't like.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's grounds to not give you a license.
Right.
So
now, and I could be very wrong on that. I am not a lawyer. I don't know city ordinance stuff, but I feel like having the police chief make a public written statement against you when you've done absolutely nothing. You can probably sue, if for no other reason than that they've tarnished your reputation.
So now, you said that at this point in time, the guy that was trying to open the restaurant was basically nobody,
right?
But in the future, he becomes involved in tons of crimes down in Milwaukee. Right?
Yeah. So I should clarify this. So Vincent Maniaci, Vince is. Again, at this point, he's really nothing. He's worked in the bar industry most of his life. The reason that he's really known at all is because his dad is kind of a mob figure and his brother is a major mob figure. So his family's kind of got that taint on them. But up to this point, he's not really considered a bad guy.
So now I'm curious. Speculation time here. Gavin doesn't like very much.
Yeah,
but would you?
That's okay.
Would you think had this gone through, he opens up his restaurant? This could be two angles. This could be him getting away from the mob life, so he never has anything to do with it again. Mm-hmm. Or it could be, is this a play by the mob to expand up into the Appleton area, where it could have blossomed into more than what it ever became? Do you have a feeling on which way it probably went?
I'm actually really glad you asked that question.
Okay.
When I had first stumbled on this, I mean, I've known about this story probably 10 years now. Originally, I had read it as, it's like a mob outpost in Appleton. That's how I read it. I don't feel that way anymore. And I don't feel very strongly about that. I think not necessarily that he's distancing himself from the mob. I mean, maybe, but I think this is clean. I think this is legit. Although Vince, like I said, later gets into some shady stuff and he is the target of a car bomb, he's never actually becomes a made member of the mob, as far as I'm aware. And, he's kind of just in that orbit, but not really that close. So I don't know if it's necessarily like